Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to present you with my list for top 10 friction hitches. Now, I got several requests recently, but also over the course of my time YouTubing, I frequently get this request. So I'm finally doing it, and so it's going to be top 10, going from, least favorite, least favorite to most favorite. And so we're going to start with 10 and work our way up to the top. So also, for anyone watching this video who sees a friction hitch that, tickles their fancy, or that they find attractive, or that they want to try out, but they don't know how to tie it, don't worry. I have listed in the description for this video links for every single one of these hitches. There's going to be a video that I made showing exactly how to properly tie it. So, okay, let's get started with number 10, the Klemheist. Now, frequently people will mispronounce this hitch. This hitch's name, and they'll call it a Klemheist. That's completely erroneous, so don't be that guy. Don't call it a Klemheist. It's a Klemheist. Now, I included this hitch because I would be remiss without doing so. It's at the bottom of the list because I hardly ever use it. But every so often, if I want to do some, alpining or rock climbing, where, a sewn loop is typically preferred over a eye-to-eye hitch cord, then this hitch is premier. It is, without a doubt, the best option for anyone who is looking for a hitch to be tied with a sewn loop. There are other hitches like, the auto block, but the auto block is a good option too, but it isn't quite as good. So this hitch is very simple. It's basically, anywhere from 2 to 4 wraps around the rope, and then you simply slip the bottom portion through this top loop. And when you do this, you want to make sure that it clamps down. You don't want it to, be loose. You want to kind of have this up here when you're putting this bottom portion through it, so that it clamps down like that. This hitch is pretty responsive. It's not gonna run as smoothly or as effectively as a hitch tied with an eye-to-eye would, but as far as hitches tied with sewn loops, this is absolutely premier. And yeah, definitely would recommend it. On to the next hitch. Next up, we have number 9, the Blake's hitch. What would any lineup for friction hitches be without the Blake's? This hitch is quintessential. It's been around for as long as arboriculture has been a thing. It is the OG of friction hitches, with a few exceptions. This hitch is easy to tie and reliable. It is also tied with what is known as a split tail. A split tail, compared to an eye-to-eye, has only one eye, and a climber affixes his or herself to this single eye, and this can be adjusted just like any other friction hitch, and when you pull down, it grabs readily. Fewer friction hitches have a better reputation than the Blake's. Now, I don't often climb with a split tail. I'm almost always using, eye-to-eye friction hitches. But when I do climb, on a moving rope system, oftentimes it's usually just for fun, and or if I'm, looking to access the canopy a little differently, then my go-to is the Blake's. I don't really know what else I can say about it. If you climb on a moving rope system, another good option is the, what's it called? Taut line. The taut line hitch. But I don't like the taut line as much as the Blake's. The taut line is, it's got a longer profile, and I just don't trust it as much. The Blake's, you'll know after you tie it, and if you dress and set it correctly, that, it grabs. It's something you can trust. You can put your life in its hands. So, I love the Blake's. Again, it's just a classic, and it just had to be in this list. So, on to the next one. Here we are now with number 7, the Valdotain Tresse, also known as the VT. The Valdotain Tresse is effectively a Valdotain, which is a different hitch, with braids. And here you can see it's got a coil and then the braids with the legs alternating position below the other. A lot of you might disagree with my decision to make the VT at position number 7, but as much as I appreciate the VT, it's really not my cup of tea. For First, let me tell you what it's good for. This hitch is well established to be very good at sliding and maneuvering along the rope. It grabs firmly, but more importantly, it also releases extremely readily. There is probably not a single hitch that will release as easily or reliably or readily as the VT. So there are pluses for sure. Now, for tree climbers and arborists, the VT is really popular, and it's typically used in concert with a device called a rope wrench. And I personally have never been able to comfortably use a VT with a rope wrench, mainly because the hitch sprawls so much. It's really lengthy, and I greatly prefer more compact hitches. So there's that. The VT, believe it or not, is one of the few friction hitches that can be used for a descent without a rope wrench. And this is not done in arboriculture, but you do commonly see this among canyoneers and with rock climbers. And so, it's good to know that if you're in an emergency situation and you need to quickly descend down a rope, and you're rock climbing or alpining or doing something where rope wrenches aren't even a thing, you can depend on, your eye-to-eye and a VT to get you down the rope without the hitch jamming. So that's a beautiful thing. So as good as all this sounds, I still don't think it deserves a better position than 7, but 7's a good spot. The fact that it's even on my list means that it's a good hitch. So another issue that I have with this hitch is it's got a lot of setback. And if you don't know what setback is, let me demonstrate it. When you advance this hitch, the braids compress and it'll go up. This hitch cord happens to be really firm, but typically when you do this, it'll compress like this. And that means for, every however many inches you advance on your climb line with this hitch, you're going to also lose about 3 inches or more as it decompresses. Okay? And as far as, loss of efficiency is concerned, when you're a tree climber, avoiding a loss of efficiency is paramount. For the same reason that we try not to climb with anything more than just the gear we need, because if we're carrying a ton of weight then it's gonna hold back progress and make us less efficient. So setback is definitely something I strongly dislike, and the VT has a lot of it. And so primarily for that reason, and because of its long profile, it's, I don't really use it all that often, but I do frequently use it as a part of mechanical advantage systems, specifically for hauling, because I don't want my load to get stuck halfway up as I'm lifting it, and I know the VT is gonna provide the least likelihood of causing that to happen. And also, I don't want my load to get jammed on the way down. And I know that this hitch releases better than pretty much any other. So, it's good for a lot of things. You might be wondering, why did I choose 7? But I don't know. I guess I have a thing against setback and long things. So, all right, on to the next one. Okay, now, this is the number 7 choice, the true number 7. I kept calling the VT number 7, but it's actually number 8. So, just clarifying that. I'll put some post-editing there to make sure that is clear. So here we have a hitch called the Felicitous hitch. Sounds like a mouthful, but it kind of rolls off the tongue. This is actually a hitch that I created and developed, and just look at it. I mean, what's not to love? It looks great, and it's got this kind of figure 8 type pattern going on at the adjustability section here below a coil. Now, this hitch became really popular on my channel, and the reason for that is because it performs extremely well. It is reliable, it runs smoothly on the rope, and it has been designed so that after the coil, this one leg runs just straight out off to the side. And what that allows you to do is when you advance the hitch, it's going to cause this leg to push up, which is going to release tension in the coil, thus making it easier to advance and also preventing it from binding up. But also, when you're weighting the hitch and doing descents, this leg will tighten around this leg, keeping it locked in, with the amount of tension that you originally set in the coil. Once again, preventing it from binding too easily. So this is a great option if you want to stand out at work and run a hitch that nobody else, well, not nobody else, I'm sure there are people who are using it. I already know people are using it. I've talked to a number of people who say they love it and use it every day. But if you want to stand out at work, or if you're a hobby climber and you just, are tired of the mainstream options, then give the Felicitous hitch a look-see. And yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to recommend my own hitch, so there's that. On to the next one. Introducing hitch number 6, the Pindonga Plus. If you already know about the Pindonga, then you're probably pretty much the man. And there's nothing else I can teach you. You probably know everything and are, cooler than ice. Because the Pindonga has been around for quite some time, and it is one of the most underrated hitches in existence. It does not get a lot of limelight. And, it's really unfortunate that not a lot of people use the Pindonga. But it deserves attention because this hitch is phenomenal. I mean, it earned a 6th place position in my, list. So here, let's take a look at it. It's a really unique design. It's pretty much unlike anything else that is out there as far as hitches and how, and as far as their methods for being tied. It has what amounts to 3 wraps at the top, a braid here, okay, and then some knotting down here. So it's really eclectic, and it looks great. It runs beautifully. It really bites down on the rope, and it's fun to tie and use. I think it's great, and if you are looking for something fresh and new that you have never experienced before, and that probably most people haven't ever experienced before, because again, this is really like nobody uses the Pindonga anymore. I mean, I'm sure there are people, but have you heard of one? Probably not. But I'm one, so try it out, give it a try. I think everyone should experience the Pindonga once in their lifetime before settling on another hitch. So, yeah. On to the next one. Here we are now with number 5, the Cornell hitch. This hitch is and has always been one of my all-time favorites. This hitch is reasonably popular. It's been around for a long time, and it's just great. It's got a coil at the top, and then this elegant-looking adjustability section below it. Now, this hitch operates similarly to how I designed my Felicitous hitch, and with that being, it has one leg making some maneuvers and another running directly just out of the hitch. And what that allows the hitch to do is to loosen, allow the coil to loosen when it's being advanced, and when it's being weighted during descents, this will lock it off, preventing this from binding too easily. So Same concept. Great hitch. There are plenty of reputable production arborists who like this hitch. So it's tried and true, well tested, well established to work. So give it a try. On to the next one. Introducing hitch number 4, the Sticht hitch. This hitch was created and developed by a good friend of mine, someone who posts under the username Brocky on the Tree Buzz and Treehouse forums. And he is nothing short of a hitch genius. And he has come up with this design which works on a single rope, so you can climb with it, SRT or SRS, whatever you want to call it, without a rope wrench. Yes, you heard correctly. This will work on a single rope without the need for a rope wrench. Why is that? Well, there are a lot of reasons, but primarily it has to do with this ring and this knotting in the back, which is known as an elbow. So this hitch is also adjustable, meaning you can extend the length between the coil, or extend the separation between the coil and the ring, which will, affect how the hitch tends and performs. So this elbow keeps everything above it from binding up. And the ring allows for the hitch to be able to tend with the legs right around close to 90 degrees like this, which is very unusual for a hitch because most don't tend until it's almost 180 degrees with the legs relative to the rope. So that adds 50% efficiency with your tending, and this hitch will tend quite well and quite nicely without the need for a slack tending pulley. And that is because the elbow in the back sort of acts as a pulley. And yeah, this ring finally allows for, when you weight it, it allows for the addition of a smoother friction. So it adds friction, but it's, because it's a smooth metal relative to a more abrasive or, coarse hitch cord, it will glide more smoothly along the rope. So it's very unique. I have created a number of my own SRT hitches, but if I'm being honest, nothing will ever be better than the Sticht hitch. So give that a look-see. If you are new to climbing and can't afford a rope wrench, but can afford a ring and a hitch cord, here I have shown a 32-inch cord, 9mm diameter, RIT response, and this is a 34 millimeter ring. You could even go down to 28 millimeter, but I wouldn't go smaller than that because then it's just gonna bind up. So, and I really wouldn't go bigger than 34 millimeters either, or 40 millimeters for that matter, because then you won't have enough friction. So the ring size is pretty important. You can use pretty much, you could use even a 28 or 30 inch long hitch cord if you wanted to. But yeah, I think 28 in some cases, depending if you use a larger diameter hitch cords, could be too short, but certainly 30 and 32. Okay, on to the next one. At number 3, we have the Catalyst hitch. This is an oldie but goodie, but it's not as old as some of the others I have mentioned thus far. But it is one of the OG friction hitches, and I think it is one of the best looking. It's simple as far as design, and it is really easy to tie and easy to remember how to tie. You can tie it with one leg, so it's that simple. There's no complicated maneuvers where you have to remember to, go from moving one leg to moving the other in a certain way. You can tie it all with one leg, so that's a beautiful thing. And the way it is designed, it has this coil at the top, and then this leg wraps around the back and then comes out. And then this one comes down here, straight through and out. Once again, same concept as the Felicitous hitch and the other one I mentioned that was similar. I forget. I'm running a blank here. But you'll remember the one because you just watched it. This hitch, because the legs stick out so nicely in the front, tends beautifully. Look at that. It's like butter. Sorry, that's my Boston accent. So, yeah, look at that. Look at this bad Larry. And it's a great hitch. You can't go wrong with the Catalyst hitch. There's really not much to say about it. I mean, despite it being just an incredible hitch. I mean, a hitch doesn't have to say a lot. It just has to be good. And this hitch, for basically every reason you would be looking to pick a hitch, this would be one to pick. And like I said, for the new person, someone who is new to tying hitches, I think this is probably the easiest hitch you can tie other than the distal, but the distal sucks. So, sorry, it binds. Didn't make it on my list for that reason. Okay. I think that's really it. Let's take a look at the back real quick. And yeah, on to the next one. Now, at number 2, we have the Calligraphy hitch. This hitch was created and developed by yours truly, me, Knotorious. This is a hitch that I created somewhere in the first third of my hitch creating career, and it has remained pretty much my go-to hitch for my climb line and my lanyard, and it's just a really great hitch. I mean, I really tried hard not to be biased when coming up with this list, and I think that if you use this hitch and you try it out, you will quickly come to the conclusion that it deserves a second place position. So it's not me just tooting my own horn and getting my own hitches out there. I only have 2 of my own hitches on this list, which is, you know, pretty fair. I mean, I think that's pretty fair. So let's take a look at it. It's got the coil up here, followed by a twist, and then there's some semi-technical knotting where you make a loop here, you form a bite, and then this leg wraps around the back of the rope and then through the bite. And this is great. It's compact, it runs beautifully, it grabs readily, it's got, this secondary area here. A lot of them have this too, so it's not particularly special, but the way that it's separated from the coil is unique because of this twist. Not only does this help eliminate binding, but most of that prevention comes about from this knotting here. This will not allow the coil to bind easily at all. So because unlike the other ones where one leg just shoots out and the other one does knotting, both legs here do knotting, and then there's this twist. So there's really not a lot of ability for this coil to accrue tension over time. So it stays pretty much exactly how you set it when you set and dressed it before you climbed. And so also because of this twist, when you advance the hitch, it will compress and kind of like I don't know what to call it, but it's sort of like a spring in a way where when it compresses, it immediately opens up this coil so that it slides up. See that? And then when you pull down, it'll lock up. And this hitch needs to be dressed and set nicely and neatly. Make sure when you dress it and set it, you get some of the slack out of that coil, pull it through, and then pull it out. And there you'll be set. And that's really all there is to it. If you want to set yourself apart at work from all the schmucks using mainstream hitches, give this bad boy a try. I think you'll really like it. I really think you'll like it. So, alright, on to the next one. And finally, last but certainly not least, at the #1 spot in my list, the Arbsession hitch. For those of you who are unaware, Arbsession is a vendor for arborist gear, and the owner of the store came up with this hitch a while back. It was originally called something else, but after he decided to open up the Arbsession store, he elected to rename the hitch after the store in order to promote it. This hitch is actually pretty popular. If you haven't heard about it, that's okay. I think in enough time and with enough exposure, you'd probably encounter it somewhere with someone, because again, it does have some fans. Let's take a look at it. It's got a coil at the top, and then it runs out and around here like that with one leg. I know this beeline, this is called the beeline hitch cord. The pattern is hard to sort of see when you're looking at it through a camera, but then this other hitch cord goes around, behind, and then out. A lot like my Calligraphy hitch, this hitch incorporates a design where two legs do individual maneuvers that lock the adjustability section, which is what this secondary portion is called below the coil. It locks it in place, which prevents the coil from binding very easily. And so that's great. And I picked this hitch for the #1 spot. First, let me explain. This list was not supposed to be, and it didn't turn out to be, a list of my personal favorite hitches. Although there's certainly personal bias in my decisions because, you know, that's just psychology. I made the list, so there's personal bias. But I tried to be, and I successfully was, extremely unbiased in the sense that I designed this list to reflect the hitches that I think you, the average everyday climber, would benefit from the most. Okay? But at the same time, you know, obviously if you're climbing MRS and not single rope, like I do, then you might disagree with how I decided to position the Blake's hitch in this list. Okay, so it's not always gonna be perfect, but I really did my best. I think this hitch is the best choice for literally anyone looking for a new hitch and for a hitch that they are gonna love and enjoy and be able to tie easily. It's really easy to tie. It might look a little complicated, but it's actually not. This is one of the easiest hitches to tie. Probably, you know, it's pretty close. It's not as easy as the Catalyst hitch, but it's pretty easy. And it's easy to remember too. It's a very memorable tying method. So it looks cool too, with this bite coming out on the side, and you know, it crosses over in the back. You cannot go wrong with the Arbsession hitch. I've always loved this hitch. And it's one thing that sets this above and beyond a lot of other hitches is how compact it is. I mean, look at that. It's like only 3 inches in length. And when you weight it, it's only, you know, gonna be 4.5 at most. You know, if you're really heavy, maybe 5. So yeah, this is a great hitch for a rope wrench. So, you know, you can use this hitch with a rope wrench that has one of the really small tethers. So if you want to go small with your rope wrench, keep things really short and compact, then yeah, this is your choice. The Calligraphy hitch is another great choice. It's also very compact. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, it also, you know, it tends, it's kind of an awkward tend. I mean, okay, so before I do this hitch an injustice, it's just awkward in the sense that the legs are imbalanced. But when you're tending this with a rope wrench that has a slack tending pulley, you're not even going to notice. It's just going to run like butter. Okay, so it goes up and then grabs. Great hitch. Yeah, so I think that is it. I think I'm going to wrap this up now. Thanks so much for tuning in to my special about top 10 friction hitches. And thanks to all of my followers and viewers or subscribers who helped me decide to make this video. So shout out to those people. I really appreciate their input, and I think this was a great concept for content. So okay, stick around for more videos like this and for more hitch how-tos, not tutorials, and climbing videos. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone.